Welcome to the Language of Photography, where we explore select photographers' work and make meaning of their vision. I am Giulio Sciorio. I'm pretty sure I'm Giulio Sciorio because I don't know who else I would be. In episode 1, we are looking over the work of photographer duo Shaughn and John. Check it out. Let's, before we dive into the work though, I want to go over to the contact page, because I think this is going to give us a hint of what they are. Then we're going to go over the overview and kind of get some ideas and try to make meaning of their body work. So first thing you see is their rep, contact info, then Shaughn and John's phone number. Go ahead and give it a call. Who knows? Maybe they'll pick up. That's what it's there for. So the About page says, our work is the result of a never-ending curiosity about people and the human experience. That right there says a good amount, right? You could tweak that. You could kind of throw that into an elevator pitch out and about, well, what kind of work do you do, Shaughn? And, well, I work with John, and our work is a result of a never-ending curiosity about people and the human experience. We are curious about people and the human experience. We photograph the human experience. There's so many ways you can do this, rephrase a sentence and have it be natural. It's a super strong way to start out. Then it goes on to say, with a background in photojournalism and sociology, we often find ourselves seeking unusual subjects and untold stories. To that end, our personal work documents those adventures and allows us to share these experiences. The lessons we learn through our personal projects inform our commercial work, helping maintain a strong creative identity. Man, I'm stealing this. It's so good. So, what I love about this is each sentence is a tweet, right? What do we have? We got 1, 2, 3, 4 sentences. They mentioned that their personal work documents the adventures of them exploring their curiosity of people and the human experience. Then it further goes on to say that what they learned through these personal projects direct the vision for their commercial work. And what that does is help them maintain a strong creative identity. It's brilliant. It's simple. It's brilliant. Then they list their clients. They got some pretty high-end clients, but the About is brilliant. You know what they're saying is, look, we are photographers, and we also are sociologists, and we're curious about the human condition. Both of those things tie in so well, right? Sociology and the human condition, and photojournalism, telling a story with photography, and our work, our personal work, the work that we love to do, the work that is a hell yes, informs our commercial work. So we are still, even though we're going to be hired to do some ads for Beats headphones or whatever, the work that we do in our personal projects that we're showing you now is going to direct us in how we would photograph commercial work for you. Wonderful pitch. Let's go to the overview. It used to be called portfolio, but now people use it as an overview. It's the same kind of thing. You're basically organizing your images in 20 or so images, so that they go from one image to the next. They transition well, either through content, visually, or both. They tell a story on their own, and they tell a story when combined. So let's dive in. First frame, we see a silhouette of a cowboy with a couple wild horses. We see a beautiful vista of ocean and sky and a sunset. So when you think of cowboy, you think of rebel, you think of freedom, you think of a lifestyle that may be dangerous, but one that is also appealing. You think of freedom and vacation and a better world and peace and serenity when you look into the ocean. So you're kind of getting these these contrasting views. Visually, it's contrasting, right? Because we have a silhouette and we have the sun is beautiful. Now, my eye goes here around the half of the where the sun would be, right? And then my eye goes here to the silhouette. Let's transition to the next image. And you can see how it goes from this circle to this circle. And what we have here is another symbol of freedom, potentially, for young black youths in neighborhoods that are harsh, perhaps. They want to escape into it. Then a lot of young African Americans want to, though they will escape through sports, one of the sports being basketball. You could see the story here is this is a young man, obviously, has a scar here. We can only make our own story up around the scar. Maybe he got it playing basketball. Maybe he got it through violent means. And basketball is his ticket to freedom, right? And now look at a beautiful transition from the ball, both in texture and color, to this gentleman's face, both in texture and color. It's very similar. Also, if you follow the arm down and you go here, it takes you diagonally up into these metal beams, these metal poles here. It's a wonderful transition. And we are seeing more blue collar, more underdog, more, I don't want to say alternative culture, but more loss of words here. But you're seeing that somebody who's maybe not appreciated, or maybe they're not seen, right? They're not seen, and we're not seeing the rest of this basketball player. But the scar on the arm, the skin color, the length of the arm, and the basketball tells us a story. Here we have what looks to be perhaps a Hispanic, older Hispanic man doing some manual work on some sort of motor. He's in an area where a lot of people want to go, but he is there. And there's an engine, and now he is looking directly down to these cars that have a collision. There's fire. Again, we're talking the themes of danger, the themes of those people in society who may not pay attention to, but the allure of danger, and perhaps for some, what freedom would these dangerous environments or dangerous actions could potentially bring. This is a tough transition for me. I'll tell you, going from these first 1, 2, 3, 4, really strong, and then going into this, I could see the size of his head here, working with these size of these skulls. It's interesting. So when you think of minorities in society looking for that freedom, that liberty to do what they want to do, and they're finding it through maybe being a basketball player or doing their own manual labor type work. And then you think of who's the bad man, right? Well, here comes this white man, all dressed in black, with a bunch of skulls behind him. Fascinating set. It was obviously shot on a set because you could see the shadow go up on the pile of skulls. I think that, as far as like the story goes, it transitions well. Visually, I struggle with it a little bit visually, but I think that the image works well into telling the story. Then we're going back into subculture here. This is cars like this are within certain African American communities, are popular in Latino communities, more minority communities. The car represents freedom. It represents individual style. It's shot very loose. It's an interesting image. Now we're seeing color themes here of greens and blues, some reds. Here we have a black cowboy. So you have a black man who a lot of people will fear. A lot of people will, at the same time, be compelled to be curious about. You have a cowboy, which a lot of people will fear, and a lot of people are curious about. He himself is in the shadow, right? Being a black man as a cowboy is definitely a minority for sure, because there's not a lot of cowboys, real cowboys. I'm not talking about mall cowboys, real cowboys. There's not a lot of real cowboys in that population. I would suspect that there are not a lot of black cowboys. And of the black cowboys, there are probably not a lot of black cowboys that look like him, that have a lot of tattoos. He's got baggy jeans on. The jeans themselves look a little rough, but not dirty, you would say. Obviously, he cleaned up for this beautiful portrait, and his face is in the shadows. Now, where are your eyes going here? My eyes are going right around the face, and then I'm also kind of curious about the circular tattoo. Watch it carefully. Boom. Amazing transition. We've gone from an outcast, something that somebody is, an individual that people are feared, that fear, and still yet a human being like you and I, right? To an animal that is feared, but is an animal nonetheless, right? And this animal, this rattlesnake, I'm assuming it's a rattlesnake, they don't desire to go out and hurt us, right? Most, I would assume, I don't have an insight to the mind of a rattlesnake, but just kind of like a black man or a cowboy, it kind of embodies the fear and the respect that fear brings for a lot of people, but it's also someone who is not necessarily going out to harm us. Very powerful. And then visually, the transition is great. I mean, going from the black and white to the color, you almost don't even pay attention to that because your eyes are right here. And then it just spills over beautifully right into the snake. Now watch the snake carefully. Let's see how this transitions. A little rough. What I'm seeing here is these yellow tones and patterns of the scales to, obviously my eyes are still here. It's almost like it flip-flops, right? It's almost like a negative. So we have yellow in the background, shadows on the subject. Here we have yellow and a dark background. It's flip-flopped. So it's kind of a cool transition, but we're seeing more themes of freedom, smoke, which often for a lot of people is kind of the freedom to have a cigarette, mystery, right? And he is in shadows. He's silhouetted somewhat in mystery. And now we're getting into this element here, because if this one skateboarder kind of brought in the element of travel, and here we're seeing more travel. This looks like LAX. We're seeing those green and yellow and slight magenta tones that we saw earlier in the that tricked out car. And now we're seeing it again here, which is interesting. So another element here we have is sports. And my eye follows this line, across this line, and then right across where his knee and the shorts meet, or his leg and the shorts meet. So my eye transitions well. The color works because you have the same kind of reddish, magenta, green, yellows that you do in this image. And that's interesting. So watch. So it's almost like opposites, right? So now you have, again, your eye was maybe in the middle here, around this man's midsection. And then you're looking here in the middle. Now you have another symbol of freedom. The sun setting is always a beautiful thing to see. To me, I would see that. I'm like, I've been alive another day. Freedom. Birds, freedom. Birds are a little religious, right? The pigeons can be religious. It's a fairly busy image, but it's a beautiful image. And we got warm tones, and we've got more cool tones along the feathers of the pigeons. Transition over. Boom. Whoa. Look at this. Keep your eyes in the middle, right? We're here in the middle. Now we're seeing these two nuns. I know in advance, I'm familiar with these women. These are not real nuns, but they look like nuns, and they're called like the nuns of, they harvest marijuana, so they have a fun name. I forget what they're called, but nuns represent, obviously they're holy, they're religious, and we're looking at these birds. When I see birds flying, I always think, like when I'm in the Vatican or other places of worship, you always see birds and they fly, and there's religious symbolism in that. There is with them as well. The tonality, the framing works out pretty good. And now we're going back to the theme of freedom and against all odds, really, with basketball in this harsh environment. This is probably not an enjoyable place to live, but they're still driven to play basketball. They love it, even though it's quite a bit in shambles. Maybe At one point, this was really nice, and now it's been decayed. And then we're seeing more minority themes of not minority necessarily, but more subculture themes. Here's a guy smoking what appears to be a joint that ties into the nuns we saw earlier, although you may not notice it or understand it at first, but you would if you were to explore Shaughn and John's work more. Beautiful piece. Silhouetted, right? The face is covered, kind of like what we saw earlier with the cowboy. Maybe somebody that you would work with, maybe somebody that you would go to church with, you don't know. It looks like a regular guy, and then he likes to kind of smoke a joint here and there. And I really think that there's a deeper conversation there around marijuana use being a regular thing. And now we're seeing more elements of freedom. And when you think about this, you think about smoking weed, makes you high, makes you feel, your brain feel free, perhaps creative, whatever it is. And then it's burnt, right? It's decaying, and you're taking something away, perhaps. And then when you see these palms probably were nice and green at some point, but when you think of palms, think of freedom, think of vacation, tropical. It takes your mind away from something. Right? But now it is decaying. It is something it used to be this beautiful area. Now they've been damaged, and they're, right? This used to be maybe a beautiful basketball court, or at some point, maybe it was well taken care of, right? You can see how that ties in here. Really interesting themes going on here. And then we're going into more decay, beer bottle, right? So you think about it, we got weed, we got beer, we got decay, better times in the past. We have a gentleman here that looks, it could be medical scrubs, it could be a prison. I'm kind of inclined to, and again, this is just my making meaning of the image, I'm kind of inclined to think it's maybe more along the lines of potentially some sort of, I don't want to say prison, but maybe some sort of incarceration, because we have these themes of freedom and repression, and I'm kind of, maybe that's the idea here. It's a little hard to say, because by looking at, I can't look at this and then look at him and say, well, it's a black guy, must be in prison. But the fact that even pops in my head is part of the power of this body of work, right? The fact that it even pops in my head, and I'm talking to myself about it, I'm like, gosh, is that racist if I say that? And maybe it's not, and maybe he was, and maybe that's the power of the photography here, right? And it's powerful stuff. At the same time, he's happy, but he appears to be happy with a smile, but he's looking down. And we have another symbol of freedom, right? 4th of July, I'm assuming it's 4th of July, fireworks, beach, gathering of people, solitude, right? Black man, which may be in jail. Solitude by himself to this beach, fireworks, celebrating what we assume to be freedom, powerful theme. And now we got a young black man with a snake, which is what, we saw that snake earlier. We saw that other black man as a cowboy. And now we're seeing this young man as a snake. Now the difference is, this is the beautiful part. The difference is now the snake is looking away, but the man is looking directly into you, or into the camera. And those are two elements that they've combined in a single photo. And this is an interesting transition. We still have these greens. Every once in a while you get these greens and warm hues they like to use, that Shaughn and John likes to use in their images. And I think what they're trying to, what it means to me is that this is another symbol of freedom. And I guess if we go back to this gentleman here, we're seeing again two elements together that people may fear. They may fear snakes, and they may fear black people. A lot of people, white people generally, not everybody, I don't, and I know a lot of people, most of the people that I know, at least they appear that they do not, but there is this conversation in society, like you see a black man, oh, I better call a police. You know, it's like freaking crazy, especially in today's political climate. And here we have it in one image, which is really striking. And then here we have another symbol of freedom, perhaps. It could be music. It could be freedom to make your hair whatever color it wants. You know, it's not my favorite image, but that's kind of what I'm getting out of it. And then here we have this symbol of decay, symbol of something that could be used to take something from you, right? A knife or rusted blade. And then we have this symbol of freedom again. He's looking up. He's in a convertible. He looks relaxed. He looks calm. Probably an old school car. You can tell because of he's in a car club. So he's looking up. Is he looking up past the knife? Could be. Is he looking at her? Could be. And then what does that say? When we put those in from that together, it's open for interpretation. Now we're bringing in the element of drugs again, this time LSD. Very simple image, but if you look at where we're going here, right? So an element that potentially can take away freedom, something that can be used to take away, or depending on who you ask, something that can open your mind and give you freedom. And then we have these two gentlemen here, white men, mid-aged for sure, with their dogs. Looks like it may be a little bit of chaos going on here. That could be emphasized as well by the harsh light. Also, you're not seeing any of their faces. They're cut off by the roof. Chill image. Natural light looking up. And what appears to be in a convertible. Harsh light. Chaos. Hardtop. White men. Very interesting how it works. Really kind of plays with your brain there. And now we're going back. Oops, went too fast. So looking at the dog. The dog is really the focal point here, right? And then we're looking, and it transitions pretty well into the nun harvesting marijuana, which transitions into the ass of a sumo wrestler, more of a subculture, minority sport, strength, something that you may fear, something that people may fear. People may fear marijuana. They may fear nuns, right? They may have an issue with church. You may fear both. You may just kind of giggle at it, but interesting themes. Now we're going into another theme here, which is, and it's a beautiful transition if you look at, so you go from face to ass. If you follow the lines over, and then it goes into the guitar, and this is interesting. So now you have something that's pretty rare, like the disease, I don't know what the name of it is, where it dissolves your pigment of your skin. It's pretty rare. And then on a mariachi, somebody who looks like he's in a mariachi band playing guitar on the beach, pretty rare. Definitely niche, definitely minority, definitely different cultures. And then it transitions. These lines on the guitar go up into this hand, pointing out these rare rocks, or perhaps they're artifacts. All right, and we're looking at, if you look at the face and the hands, you think skin, disease, damage. You look at the hand here, some sort of damage happened to the hand. And again, look at the rocks, artifacts, ancient, old. And that works out pretty well into this image that was shot out of an airplane. It had been shot out of an airplane. We got this aberration up here, very low contrast image, which looked like they punched it up, made it a little more rich in post, but the story is more rocks, rare items, rocks, rockies, rarity, right? Oh, look. So now we're back into mountains, water. You may think that, and the transitions pretty well into this. Again, the theme of freedom, the theme of travel here, theme of getting away. And we got this happy portrait, because I guess when you're on vacation, you're happy. The color of these three colors of grays, the salmon color, The reds transition really well into this. He's looking to the right. We're looking more at more rarities. Rarity, things that you don't see too often. Sumo wrestlers, things you don't see too often. A symbol of something rare would be diamonds. And his eyes are looking right in there, transitions into that. Now we're looking into more themes of travel, something that you don't see too often, which are rockets. And this gentleman built a rocket. Again, travel and sports, green tones, warm tones. The palms are making a comeback here. We have these gloves, which are similar tones here in the palms as to into the ramp here. And pretty rough looking gloves. And then that transitions into another kind of hands-on blue collar kind of job of the bees, the honey, the beekeeper. I love you forever. The tonality works really good here. Pretty interesting. So here you have like this front plane, and then you have the back plane, which is the buildings in the background, and you have that here with I love you on glass, and then you have the back plane, which is the out of focus imagery. Pretty cool stuff. Something you don't see every day. Maybe that is part of it. And then this gentleman here, which looks like he may have been in a war. Old, rare, something you don't see every day, right? Blue collar, used. This gentleman here could be, you can see a lot of similar things with him. Blue collar, maybe used, maybe not thought of very much anymore. Maybe this gentleman here, you see these pictures in thrift stores of people that have passed. We don't think about them anymore. Could be this scenario with this gentleman. We're seeing the shadow in the face. We're not really connecting with him directly, but we know he's there. He's a person. Maybe what it's saying here is that we are overlooking these minority men and women that are doing different things. And let's see. So manual labor, maybe that's the part of the theme, right? Manual labor by the hands, going into a theme of manual work. Tractor tire, turkey or turkey rooster, chicken, and then we're looking, and this transition's tough for me, I'll tell you. The eyes here, great to this. So I think like that, it works out well. It's a little humorous, but I find it to be a little difficult because we're going into like science now and more produced stuff. It could be things that are made, could be part of the theme. Things that are made, tire, people making stuff, chicken makes eggs. These guys are making some sort of weird vehicle. And maybe the vehicle also represents freedom, right? And now we're looking here again. There's more freedom. Again, those similar tones of blues and greens. And then we're back. Pretty interesting portfolio. I really dig it. I'm inspired by the story that the images tell on their own, and then the story that they tell together. And then you go back to the contact page and you read photojournalism and sociology. Got it. Human curiosity and about people and the experience. Got it. That really backs these words, and the overview really work. They're so well tied. I mean, one backs up the other, right? And then you go into the commissioned work, and you can see, oh look. So there you go. That was a commission. There's some Beats headphone stuff. Pretty cool that they're. There you go. Interesting. So you can look at the projects here. You can see that the Sisters of the Valley, I think those are the marijuana harvesting women, the nuns, or I don't know if they're real nuns, but anyways, pretty interesting stuff. You can check out snaps. These are more their behind the scenes. Maybe images didn't quite make the cut. Pretty cool stuff here. Maybe it's stuff that would, oh look, there's a behind the scenes of the gentleman with the snake. This is stuff that I think gives you, the viewer, a little more insight into how they work. And these guys are also on Instagram. Just look up Shaughn and John, or maybe you can go to contact. Let's see. No, they're not here, but they're on Instagram. Really good stuff. Take a look at their work, leave a comment, and let me know what you're getting out of this. And maybe I've overlooked something. Maybe I've looked too deep. I'm curious to hear what you think about my dissecting this, and what your thoughts are, and how does this all work out? What does it all mean to you? So that was it for episode 1 of The Language of Photography. I hope you guys dig it, because I'm going to do more of these for you guys, and I will see you in episode 2.